All right, Fortnite gamers. We obviously have to have a discussion because if you thought that the whole Vbucks changes and the recent changes to the fact that, well, obviously we had like a couple of positives in the form of Save the World becoming free to play in a couple of weeks. That'll be on the 16th of April. Unfortunately, more bad news has arrived with Fortnite. And the worst part about all of this is that this is happening just a couple of days after the launch of this current season, which is referred to as Showdown. The season, by the way, I'll be sharing my first impressions about the season later in the video, so be sure to look out for that. But I wanted to start things off by obviously talking about the very disappointing news that I'm sure a lot of the Fortnite players have listened to and probably heard on the radio. You may have seen articles about this. You may, in case anybody doesn't know what's happening here, Fortnite, or should I say Epic Games, who are responsible for Fortnite, had laid off over 1,000 employees just yesterday. Yes, 1,000 employees were laid off, and most of those employees were probably responsible for a lot of the Fortnite content we've been getting for the last few months. So a lot of the people that were probably working on stuff we've seen the last couple of seasons, like the Simpsons stuff, the Shock and Awesome with the Power Rangers and all that stuff, probably were made by some of these developers, and it's really, really unfortunate to hear that a lot of these developers have been laid off. So I really do hope that a lot of these developers will find new jobs, hopefully, within the gaming industry. If they are thinking about staying in the gaming industry, hopefully you'll find new positions in other companies. I think that I really hope that happens. Otherwise, if some of these people who have been fired don't want to be in the gaming industry anymore, perfectly understandable. If you feel very betrayed by Epic Games' decision, then that's perfectly fine to feel that way. But I just hope that a lot of these people are going to be able to find like new jobs and new positions. But at the same time, it is very disgusting to hear that 1,000 people have been laid off, which is also quite coincidental considering the fact that a couple of weeks ago, the guy behind Epic Games, or behind the Fortnite success, Tim Sweeney, it wasn't that long ago that there were talks about Tim Sweeney buying forests in America. At least that's what was discussed recently, that he was buying forests. He was basically using his cash to save over 50,000 acres of forest, which could have been the money, and which, by the way, should have been the money to save Fortnite from firing people, or save his company from losing employees. That could have been the money to not only make sure that Fortnite could keep growing and stuff, but also protect employees from being fired. But the fact that he wasted a lot of that money on that basically caused Epic Games to just fire 1,000 employees. So I personally do believe that even though it may have been seen as a good thing, also it's a bit of a risky thing, because what he's done is essentially put the company in a very bad situation where now you basically going to have less employees to work on Fortnite and all the other Fortnite content that they usually do each season. Now there's going to be less of it because of his actions. It's going to cause a lot of it's basically going to not do, even though yes, there was a number of articles that believed that he was doing this just to save his employees. I mean, I get that, but then at the same time, it didn't really save them, did it? It really put the developers at risk more than saving them. So Tim's actions didn't really work out the way that he thought it was going to work out. So in other words, he kind of failed them rather than saved them. I do believe that this was part of the decision that led to a lot of these people's departures from Fortnite, or at least being laid off, essentially. But also at the same time, they kind of paid a ridiculous amount of money to get Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson to come into the season, which, by the way, he obviously has to get paid a lot in order to act. So that was another risky move that also put Fortnite in a very tight situation. Yeah, that didn't really work out for them. But also at the same time, they obviously Fortnite's been losing a lot of players. Obviously, casual players, as I've mentioned before, not wanting to play the game is simply because there's too many sweats, and the sweaty players and competitive players are just making the game unfun for them, and to the point that every time they complain when casual players are trying to enjoy the game, they're just ruining the game for everybody else, to the point that it forces casuals to leave, and it puts Fortnite in situations like this where not only did they fire more than 1,000 employees, but they're also shutting down 3 modes within Fortnite. Now, the four modes in question, by the way, I know there is one mode specifically that's probably going to obviously probably upset a lot of people. Yeah, we might as well discuss about the modes in question that they're shutting down. So essentially, rocket racing, which was their sort of racing part of Fortnite. That is shutting down in October. So from October this year, that mode will no longer be available within Fortnite. There are 2 modes that are going to be going away a lot more sooner than rocket racing, and they are ballistic and festival battle stage. These 2 modes specifically are going to be shutting down the day that Save the World goes free to play, which is the 16th of April, 2026. So yes, in about 2 weeks or so from now, we will see the end of Festival Battle Station and Ballistic, which means that the Fortnite Valorant style game mode will now be leaving Fortnite, which will now encourage that player base to go to games like Valorant and all those type of games going forward, because obviously Valorant is basically going to be their new home essentially now, because of the fact that this mode's going to be leaving in a couple of weeks. And then at the same time, Festival Battle Station, which obviously was obviously a lot of people enjoyed this game mode, is now going to lose access to content. Now, interestingly, Fortnite have actually given us some details as to why they're doing this, essentially. So we're going to read you some of the quotes that Epic Games have put down in regards to why they're shutting these things down. So in regards to Festive Battle Station, this is what they're saying currently in regards to why they're shutting, well, what their plans are when it comes to taking the mode offline. So, Fortnite Festival contains 3 music modes. Festival Main Station, 1 band with a team up to 4, plays the Note Highway Rhythm game. Festive Jam Station and Festive Battle Station, which is 4 teams and 4 players. Battle Station competitive mode for Festival will go offline on the 16th of April 2026 with 40.20 release, which is that week's update. Quests will be available until then. Music remains a huge part of Fortnite and will continue to improve Festival Main Station and Jam Station. The music feature that are available everywhere in Fortnite. So luckily they are keeping the other 2 parts of Fortnite Festival, but the Battle Station side of Fortnite Festival, that will be going away in a couple of weeks. So that's what they're saying about that. In regards to rocket racing, obviously this has only been out for 2 years, but they say that rocket racing will leave Fortnite along with all UEFN islands built with rocket engine templates in October 2026. Starting next week, rocket racing quests will no longer be available. Current track creation templates will be removed from Fortnite creation. There are no further ranked rewards planned for this season. Nothing changes with your vehicle locks, and you can still use your customized cars in Fortnite. For developers building car content, in April we'll be adding car physics, hazards, track building tools based on the tool set. Developers will also be able to build custom racing islands with jumps, boosts, and drifts. Before October, developers will be able to move competitive rocket racing content over to the standalone islands. So that's what they're saying about rocket racing and what they're going to do in regards to Fortnite creations side of rocket racing, that you're going to be able to move stuff over to the standalone islands rather than having it specifically for rocket racing. And then in regards to ballistic, they're basically saying they're shutting it down on the 16th of April. You're going to still be able to play and rank up, but those that are supporting those islands, they'll continue to be supported. Apart from that, the main ballistic mode will be going away on the 16th of April, and that's all they're saying about that pretty much. But it's just, yeah, it is a kind of a mess, isn't it? Just to see that now I'm starting to, I want to be hopeful that Blitz will remain in the game, hopefully for the remainder of the year, but I'm also kind of fearing for the worst when it comes to Blitz, because I do kind of worry whether Blitz will lose its population at some point due to the backlash of developers getting fired and also other game modes being taken out of the game, whether that's going to negatively impact Blitz potentially. And if it does, then I kind of fear that might be next on the chopping blocks, which I hope that's not the case. But yeah, so essentially, for those who are wondering like why these modes, all three of these modes are going away, well, apparently they're claiming that, they failed to attract a large enough attendance. They say that we built a lot of Fortnite modes, and in some cases we failed to build something awesome enough to attract and retain a large player base. Yeah, so they're basically essentially blaming us for not interacting with these modes, even though half of their community don't really play Festival or play Ballistic, and particularly me. I don't touch Ballistic because I've tried it and it just wasn't my cup of tea. So you can't really blame me for not preferring something else over Ballistic and Festival. I mean, I just prefer Zero Build and Blitz because they're sort of my Fortnite game modes for me, and they're my preferred game modes. But for some of my friends, they prefer Fortnite Festival Battle Station. They don't mind the Battle Station of Fortnite if they want to go for a more competitive. But yeah, it is a bit annoying to see these three modes go away. So I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people voicing their frustration over the fact that, well, these game modes are no longer going to be in the game, and it's going to obviously impact the player base even further, to the point that they end up losing a lot of players over this decision, which is not going to sit well. It's not going to do very, very well, is it? To see these game modes that have been obviously beloved by quite a good portion of players are now going to be forcing these players to essentially move away from Fortnite and cause the player base to get even lower, and maybe cause even more layoffs later this year, which I wouldn't be surprised if this is not the last we're going to be hearing about layoffs this year, which I think chances are we're probably going to be hearing a lot more about it. Yeah, this is just a side of bad news, isn't it? But yeah, in terms of Fortnite's notes about some of the bullet points that were mentioned in that notes that Tim Sweeney sent to staff, I'm going to read just one of the paragraphs that really got me. Is what he says at the beginning. He kind of says this: "Today we're laying off over 1,000 Epic employees. I'm sorry we're here again. The downturn of Fortnite engagement that started in 2025 means that we're spending significantly more than we're making. We had to make major cuts to keep the company funded. This layoff, together with over $500 million of identified cost saving in contract marketing and closing some open roles, puts us in a more stable place. Some of the challenges we're facing are industry-wide changes, slower growth, weaker spending, tougher cost economy, current consoles selling less than last gen, and games competing for time against other incredibly engaging formats of entertainment. And for some of our challenges are unique to Epic. Despite Fortnite remaining one of the most successful games in the world, we've had challenges delivering consistent Fortnite magic every season. We're only in the early stages of returning to mobile and optimizing Fortnite from world's billions of smartphones, and being in the industry vanguard that we have taken a lot of bullets in the battle, which only in the early days of paying off our ourselves and all developers. So yeah, so in other words, Tim went on this sort of, I guess, PR talk by saying that, it kind of, the way that you probably heard that, it does seem to come across that he's very confident that maybe mobile Fortnite might save the game, which I think it's kind of baffling. He's now he seems to think the mobile version of Fortnite is going to save the game in 2026, which I'm actually interested to see what everyone thinks about that. The fact that he's solely relying on the mobile version of Fortnite to save the Fortnite ecosystem. How do you feel about that? How do you feel about the CEO leader, Tim Sweeney, coming out and telling his staff he hopes that the mobile version of Fortnite is going to be enough to basically put Fortnite in a better position rather than where it is now? Which I still find that kind of baffling to me, that he would solely rely on the mobile version of the game rather than the console version and the PC version that seems to be doing a lot more than the mobile version of Fortnite. But apparently mobile is more important than console and PC, according to him. But then the fact that he also blames current console sales selling less than last gen, which, I mean, there is, I will admit, there is some truth into that, not many people have been buying current consoles, but that's not the player's fault. The only reason that's happened is because, well, Xbox kind of doubled, potentially tripled their console prices within the last few months, which is another reason why it's become incredibly difficult for quite a lot of players to upgrade currently, unless there's a price reduction, which usually most players have to wait till there's a sale in order to be able to properly upgrade to the current consoles. The same situation happened to Sony and PlayStation as well, even though Sony have been trying to lower the costs as much as they can, even though they had to raise prices a bit during last year. But they are trying to stable it so that at least it's a lot more, hopefully they can make it a little bit more affordable for gamers to be able to upgrade to the PlayStation 5 and be able to get the PlayStation 5 features for some of their games. Either way, the rest of the stuff he says about tough cost economy, that's indeed true. And in fact, it's so much more true than ever before, because, I mean, this is why I need to also bring up the whole Vbuck's price stuff, because there is something I do question about Epic Games that I do have to bring up to Tim Sweeney here, because I hope he is listening to this, because I do have to question some of the decision making when it comes to the Vbuck's price increase. So let's do an example, right? So say, for instance, I was to want to get my hands on the Peak skins, right? Because Peak is obviously a very popular PC game. It's obviously a game that people obviously want to be those characters because of how popular it is on PC. If I was to want to get my hands on the Peak skins or the Peak bundle in Fortnite, you'll be amazed to know if you have 0 V-Bucks, you would be, if you're in the UK, you would be forced to basically pay £17.19 to get your hands on 2,000, well, roughly around 2,000 V-Buck, which you'll notice is slightly more than what they priced it before in the previous season. So so in other words, they are it's almost like Fortnite or Epic are expecting you to pay more. And then, of course, if you want to get the bundle, so that's only for just the skin, but when you want to get the bundle, they're expecting you to pay £19 for 2,500 V-Bucks. It's insane to me how the maths that they're doing with the exact amount seems to be adding up more than the bundle packs that they're pricing. Like, how does that make you see what I mean? You see the something's a bit off, and something, and the fact that it comes across very greedy from Epic as of late. And in fact, it's interesting because a lot of people have done videos about this on obviously TikTok recently. There's been a couple of videos talking about how greedy the exact amounts have been getting this season, and I would imagine some of you probably have noticed it when you're trying to get like a skin you really want to get, and you notice that they're encouraging you to pay more for the exact amount that you want to get. So they're trying to double the pricing a bit more, which is really very questionable move from Epic, and especially from Tim and his team and his executives, considering the fact that he talks about tougher cost economy when he's basically making Fortnite more expensive with the V-Bucks, and you're trying to say that, because of the tough cost economy, we have to make cuts. Well, wouldn't it be more beneficial to, I don't know, make V-Bucks more affordable to players instead of making it difficult for players to get? Wouldn't that make more sense? How is people are going to be able to get the V-Bucks they want if they're being forced to pay double than what they did last season? You know what I mean? Like, this is why I truly believe, as Fortnite players, I think it makes perfect sense. We should just, like, in other words, just boycott buying V-Bucks at the moment until we can hopefully speak with our voices by not buying any V-Bucks in the way to kind of encourage Epic to maybe go back on that decision of increasing their V-Bucks prices, because I think V-Bucks should be a lot more affordable than what they are now. And if I was Epic, I think I would definitely relook at their decision about increasing V-Buck prices, because I think some of the decisions you've made are very questionable, and in fact they come across very greedy in the game, especially with the exact amounts. So I think this is the right move for us players to make, is to put a lot of pressure on these guys to want to improve that model going into the next couple of weeks. Because I think if we were to make the V-Bucks packs and exact amounts a bit more affordable than what they are now, I think you'll probably see a complete day and night difference as to people wanting to get their hands on V-Bucks compared to now, where less of them, well, not many people want to buy V-Bucks because they know how expensive it is right now. And it's interesting because, I mean, I've even talked to Tony about it, and she's on the fence about it as well, and that she believes that stuff like this should be more affordable than it is now, and that maybe boycotting buying V-Bucks might be the best move to convince them to actually change this decision. And I hope in saving the game even more going forward, and I hope it does, because we really need to get them to sort this mess out once and for all. So I'm hoping. Epic does mention in the letter about the layoffs that they've got plans to release the Unreal Engine 6 at the end of the year. So we do have a new Unreal Engine for games coming at the end of the year. So that means that a lot of games are going to be making their transition to Unreal Engine 6 by the end of 2026, which means that next year we can probably expect to see a lot of games to be running on the new Unreal Engine 6, and hopefully it's going to see a lot of improvements, whatever that engine will look like. Hopefully we're going to be in for some really good next-gen performance in regards to games within the next lineup of games next year, hopefully. Final notes really on the whole layoff stuff. I honestly truly believe what I said about the whole, we need to sort of boycott the whole buy V-Bucks movement to hopefully make that more affordable. Hopefully we will get to that stage eventually this year, because we need to, and I think that's one of the big criticisms I have of this current season. But yeah, in terms of how I feel about the season of Fortnite, for those who are wondering, I'll keep it, obviously I don't want to make this video too long about it, but I'll be fair, the weapons have been really good. I really like the assault rifle that they've added in. The combat assault rifle has been really nice to use. It's all right. I prefer the other assault rifle compared to, well, the combat one instead of the other one. I just prefer it because it's just a lot more faster and more. It kind of hits better than the other one, in my opinion. Yeah, it's been. I will admit, it has been a slight improvement in regards to zero build. I'm able to have a slightly much more chilled experience, even though it's still sweaty in areas. I wish they could improve that even more, but I don't think that's going to be a possibility now because of the fact that there's less players in the company now, meaning, well, less developers in the company, meaning that we're probably not going to see any matchmaking improvements anytime soon, which really sucks because I was hoping that they're going to improve it even further. I don't think that's going to happen. I think the chances of that happening is looking very, very slim. But I will admit that the first day of the new season, I did have a very, very bad experience. I had a very laggy first night of the new season, to the point that basically my matches were so laggy I couldn't even function in the game. It was basically unplayable. It got into the point where I was just like stopping and starting. My character was moving and stop moving consistently, to the point where it was so frustrating. It almost felt like you couldn't even play a match properly because you were literally like stopping and starting in the game multiple times. And even when you're trying to compete again, when you're in combat against another player, there was times where my hits weren't registering and they were getting more hits on me than I was on them, and it was really like messed up, to the point that it really it was just baffling to me that I would have the worst end of the experience compared to everybody, compared to most people. And it's just, I still don't understand why that had to happen to me day one. But luckily it resolved itself as the days progressed. It's become slightly less laggy than what it was on the first day. But yeah, it was ridiculous that first day of me playing the new season. I couldn't even, it was basically unplayable. That's pretty much my thoughts on the new season, pretty much, guys. But I would love to hear what everyone else thinks of the new season in the comments below. How you feel about the new season so far. I'm sure most people are going to be looking at the whole layoffs and saying that, Fortnite could be over as we know it. I mean, I guess in a way it does kind of feel like the downfall of Fortnite currently, because yeah, they seem to have made a lot of mistakes that has led them to losing a lot of employees. And it's now we're just kind of hoping that Blitz and Zero Build and regular Battle Royale is going to be able to keep thriving, and hopefully Fortnite will remain. But if it doesn't, then yeah, we could very well be looking at potentially the end of this game's existence within the coming years or so. I mean, who really knows how long Fortnite's got if they can't fix can't fix the problems that the game has, because if they can't, then it won't be able to last forever if it can't solve its problems. And also the fact that they've lost a lot of employees has already made the challenge even more difficult to be able to resolve a lot of the issues they still need to resolve. Here we are in 2026. I mean, it's crazy enough as it is that it's only been nearly a week since this new season started, and we're already hearing bad news about the game. How much more time does this game have left before it completely shuts down? Yeah, I would love, like I said, let me know how you feel in the comment section below. And by the way, I would also like to say a big, massive thank you to to my to many of you for helping me reach 700 subscribers today. I greatly appreciate that. I know this is not kind of a celebration video that people probably wanted to see, but I'm probably going to end up doing a 700 subscribers video. I mean, that's if people want to see it. Let me know in the comment section if you want to. I might just do like a small thing potentially, because I would rather save most of the energy for when we reach 1k, because I feel like 1k is going to need an even bigger celebration. Nevertheless, I greatly appreciate that, and I also appreciate the fact that over 40 listeners have been listening to my podcast. I really appreciate that as well. There'll be links in the description if you want to listen to it on Spotify and Apple Music. Be sure to do so. And I've got some gameplay to come for the new season, by the way, that you can check out on my channel in the coming days. And I'm going to have more made when I'm going to hopefully have some Fortnite gameplay with many of my friends, hopefully. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys in my next videos real soon. So see you then.